So let's take a look at my pedal board. I play mostly praise and worship music, and I run straight to the house system, so I don't need an amp. I really just have my guitar and my pedal board, and that's all that I need. I played with this configuration for about 3 years, and I'm really happy with it, so I wanted to go over what I've got and why I made the decisions that I've made that have led to this point, and talk about some areas where I'd like to see some improvement. First up here is my volume pedal. This is the Ernie Ball VP Junior, and I really just use this as an on-off switch, and it takes up a lot of space on the pedal board, so I would like something a little smaller. It does have a nice, I'm sure all volume pedals have this, but it has a bypass out, so I can run that to my tuner, so I can tune with my volume all the way down, and then when I'm ready to play, I can turn it up. It does have a little bit of noise, so it would be a bigger deal if I was a guitarist that was using this to have some nice swells or to vary my volume. Since I'm mainly using this as an on-off switch, is not as big of a deal. The tuner, which I was talking about, this is the Boss TU2. My wife got this for me as a gift before we were married, so it's over 20 years old at this point. And the main reason I have the volume pedal is because if I took the volume pedal out of the chain and just went from my guitar to my tuner, there's a little audible click when I turn it on and turn it off. And I don't like it. And if it's running through the house PA, you can hear it through there, so it's kind of distracting. And so that's mainly why I have the volume pedal, so I can tune with my volume off. Boss has made a newer version of this. I'm sure that that probably solves the problem with the click, but since this particular pedal has sentimental value, I'm just going to keep using it till it dies. My preamp here, I've got the Ampeg Scrambler DI, the SCR DI. For all my gear, especially my pedals, I do a lot of research online. I look through the Talk Bass forums, the bass subreddits on Reddit. I watch a lot of YouTube reviews. And I also talk with people in my church family. So the Ampeg Scrambler, I heard a lot of good stuff about. It's built well. It's really easy to use. It sounds great. It's got some cool features. It's got an auxiliary in, so you can connect it to your phone or your tablet from the headphone jack. And then it's got a headphone out over here, so you can connect your phone or your tablet and listen to some songs and then play along with them and hear through your headphones. So it's a nice little practice unit, and it just works great as a direct box as well. The one thing I don't like about it is the scrambler circuit. For me and the style of music I play, it's not really usable. So I've never really been able to get a good sound out of it. If I could just cut that section of the pedal off to reduce the size, I would, but otherwise it's a fine unit. So here's a demonstration of the scrambler circuit. So my next pedal is the Compressor. This is the Smoothie by Overdrive Effects. And this is another pedal that I did a lot of research on. I found this guy who had made a website called ovnilab.com, which it looks like the site is going away, but I was able to find a version of it on archive.org, the Wayback Machine. But this guy had done reviews on hundreds of different compressors. It was great. I loved reading through a lot of them. And he ended up making his own compressor. And this is the Smoothie. This is the Suave Opto version. He sold them through Reverb, so you may be able to find some there, but I think they're getting hard to find now. And I don't even know if he's making them anymore. But I think it sounds great. So I'll just do a little comparison here. So the settings I use were really close to some recommended settings that came in the manual for this pedal for a really clear, transparent sound. And so that's how I'm using it. I haven't used a lot of other compressors, so that's one area where I would like to have a little bit more experience. But this pedal is just so smooth. It lives up to its name. It's really easy to use. I'm really happy with it. The next pedal, my Overdrive, is the vintage microtubes from Dark Glass Electronics. I really was convinced with this after watching some YouTube reviews, and this pedal handles overdrive a lot better than the scrambler circuit does on the Ampeg. It adds some grit on top, but doesn't cut any of the low end. I probably changed the settings on this pedal more than any of the others. For the Ampeg and the Smoothie, I pretty much set them like you see, and I just leave them there. For the vintage microtubes, I will change it based on our set list. If there's some hard, fast songs that we're doing, then I may turn up the blend or may turn up the drive, depending on what I'm feeling like that day. You can vary the blend in the drive to keep it really contained, not really noisy, just adds a little bit of grit to your signal, and it's just great. And lastly, I have the Octave OC2 from Boss. This is another one where I've always used the settings that I have. So the Octave 1 is turned all the way up, the Octave 2 is turned all the way down, and then the direct level is turned all the way up. You may have heard some people say that this pedal doesn't do well on anything lower than the 5th fret. It does tend to lose tracking in some of the lower notes, but for the most part, it just sounds so good. I do have the Octave before my microtubes. When I first added it, I had them reversed where the microtubes came first, and it just sounded really muddy. The Octave just had a really hard time tracking that signal. I found that putting it before the overdrive really helps to keep it tracking well. One thing I'll say about the Octave pedal is that I play it very sparingly. I don't play it that much. It may be less than 5% of service, depending on what we're playing and where I think it might add the most punch or have the most value. For the most part, my Ampeg and the Smoothie are always on. I have the vintage microtubes on if we're playing something upbeat or if I just want a little bit of edge to my signal. And then the Octave, sometimes I won't play it at all. Sometimes I'll just throw it in during a bridge or a final chorus just to add a little bit of extra meat to the signal. So here's a complete run through of the board from my dry signal to with each of the pedals. So that's my pedal board. Lastly, my guitar. This is a Fender American Jazz bass. I do tend to prefer the fretboard on a jazz bass more than a precision bass. It's just more comfortable for me. According to the serial number on this, this is a 2001 and it's in hot rod red. It's got a maple fingerboard. I managed to find this on Facebook Marketplace. Someone was selling it for really cheap, and so I was very blessed to come across it at the right time. This is one of the items, I'm sure you've heard the question, if your house was on fire and you can only grab 3 things, what would they be? This guitar is definitely one of the things that I would grab on the way out. So that's my rig rundown. I hope this was helpful and informative. And if you have any questions about my gear, or if you have suggestions for a new compressor or volume pedal or tuner that I should look into, drop a line in the comments. I'd love to check them out. So until next time, thanks for watching.